Here's the team that I traveled with from Orchard Church. As you can see, there was only one other guy besides myself, so it's a little interesting, but we made it. This is a stop in Japan. On our layover, had to have some McDonald's in Japan. A picture of my room once we finally got to Manila. Preacher's basic message, from what I could gather, was that progression, and that we need to continue to progress. We're always going to sin and mess up, but we need to make sure that we continue to progress. Then after the sermon, there was a drama performance. It's a very popular thing. There are a lot of drama performances in pretty much every service. After that, we went to lunch. I love this place. It was one of my favorite places. We only had it once. But basically it's just chicken, and then they give you this little chili, and you chop it up and pour in vinegar and soy sauce and make your own little spicy sauce to put on the chicken and rice. It was delicious. After lunch, we went to the World War II monument, where they honor all of the fallen soldiers from the Pacific Theater. This is a few Rileys that we found. There were just dozens of walls like that, just full of names. The California Seal, Colorado State Seal, a cool prayer that I found inside of a little chapel area. It says, "O God, who art the author of peace and lover of concord, defend us, thy humble servants, in all assaults of our enemies, that we surely, trusting in thy defense, may not fear the power of any adversaries." So the morning of our second day, we all got together. We piled in a train. We all jammed in this train. The trains are absolutely jam-packed. You can see how tight we are in this picture together, and it was like that the whole way. We literally, myself and another missionary, grabbed the top entrance overhead of the door and had to push ourselves into the train in order to make it in. I don't have a lot of pictures from this trip. We went down to the city of Quiapo, where there's a very old Catholic church there, and we just learned a little bit about what people in the area believe and their form of Catholicism. It's a very idolatrous Catholicism. They have all these different color candles outside, and you can buy a different color candle that's praying for a different thing, and these aren't necessarily good things. They're like to wish ill will on people. After we got back from there, we spent some time. We were supposed to be meeting and doing an after-school program, but instead we ended up kind of helping out with school. I got stuck with high schoolers, and they were trying to have me help with math, and math's my favorite subject, but they were doing quadratic equations, and I was like, what? And after that, we went over to this restaurant that you see across the street here called Jollibee. It's essentially kind of like their national fast food restaurant, kind of McDonald's-ish, but Filipino fast food. They serve hamburgers, spaghetti, fried chicken, and rice, of course. On Tuesday morning, we piled in the car and went down to the area called Laguna, which is where our feeding center and church that we support are. We had time to visit the facility, see them cooking lunch for the kids. We got to see some of the kids. This guy's name was Joshua, so it's easy to remember. We went to a local market where they buy all the supplies for the feeding center. Plenty of raw meat. We went to this crazy restaurant. They called it a floating restaurant. They had all these weird characters. We saw Goofy, statues. Looks like this guy is urinating in the bush. Spider-Man on a rooftop. After lunch, we went back and were able to spend some time just playing with the kids and hanging out, taking some pictures. Here we are just playing catch. This is a local game. They sing a song and they go in a circle and they kind of go in and then go out, and then the kid in the middle stands up, spins in a circle, points at somebody. Once the song is ended, whoever he's pointing at, then they have to go in the middle. I took my camera and put it on the kid's head that was in the middle, so you can get kind of a first-hand perspective. Don't get too dizzy. And she didn't want to be it, so she's running away. After playing, we got to help serve lunch to all the kids in the feeding center. The way they do it is they have like 20 or so kids, and they do it based on weight. They find malnourished children and then help get their weight up, and then once their weight is up, they leave the program and other children take their place. After that, we did a little cleaning, a little bit more playtime before we headed out. We heard the marching band practicing down the street and saw these girls doing their baton twirling afterward. The morning of day 4, Wednesday, we went back to school and helped with school. This time I was not solving quadratic equations. I was able to help with 4th grade class, and that was much more enjoyable. After that, we headed back to Laguna, stopping for lunch on the way. Checked the Philippines off the list for having had McDonald's there. On the way back to the feeding center, we stopped at the market, where they asked if anyone knew how to cook. Pastor's wife said yes, and she got elected to cook lunch for the children at the feeding center. So at the market, buying chicken from this guy, and he's just right there chopping up the chicken right there in front of us. So it's all ready to go. We saw this kid. He was wandering around for a good while with his little pet beetle. We found this 3-wheeler and gave each other some rides, and then we hired this gentleman to take us back from the street market to the feeding center. The 3-wheeler that we were taking rides on before ended up at the feeding center, so a bunch of the kids piled on and we gave them some rides around, so that was pretty fun. This is what Shelly cooked. It's essentially like chicken noodle soup, but with rice. Only the rice wasn't in the soup. Afterwards, some cleanup, and then we got to work. We cleaned all the interior and the exterior of the church and feeding center, and then we began painting. Maybe with my eyes closed, I don't know. Hopefully it came out well. A little time lapse painting the roof. You can see I'm a pretty quick painter. More painting. It was kind of awkward. There was this area right here in the middle of the kitchen that went like way up high, and I'm not quite sure what the purpose of it was, but so that was kind of part of the ceiling, and they wanted it painted white, so we painted it white. Painting inside, so we went from one shade of green to a slightly yellower shade of green. The finished product with repainted cabinets, kitchen area, and by that time it was dark outside. This is a lantern made by a company called Luminade. You may have seen them on Shark Tank. I was able to purchase a few of these just with my own funds to bring over for the people, and with the help of the pastor was able to find several people in the church that don't have electricity, as most of them don't, and was able to give them these inflatable lanterns that will, this one isn't inflated, but will expand and help illuminate a house, and they're solar powered, so they charge up during the day and then run for up to 14 hours at night, so that could pretty much run all night if they needed it to. It was nice to be able to give something to the community besides just my time. Day 5 started by visiting the church at Floodway that the same pastor from the church in Laguna pastors, and got to do a painting project there, or at least a little bit of one, and then a quick tour of the neighborhood. Got to see their basketball court, see a bunch of the kids. Then we treated some of the church members to ice cream since they were going to have to finish our painting project because we had to hit the road. From there we left and we drove north, mostly, headed to camp. We saw this trike with 2 pigs in it, and if you think that's something, we also saw a trike with 2 cows in it. Now granted, these are not your typical American big huge cows, but nonetheless 2 cows. The camp program is really amazing. It's a 24-hour camp that goes basically from 5 p.m. the first night until 2 p.m. the next day, and then repeats every day of the week except Wednesday. I believe the camp runs for 3 to 4 months with a mix of adult and youth camps, but I think it's mostly youth camps. They have between 8 and 1,200 campers per batch. That's what they call them, batches. All the campers are bussed in from Metro Manila and other outlying cities. What's really great about it is that each camper gets an ID card with a unique number so that the camp can identify where that person came from, what bus they rode in on, so that any decisions that they make, whether to start a relationship with Christ or be baptized or if they want to be discipled, then the camp organizers can take that information and get in touch with the local pastors from where those individuals came from, so they can ensure that good follow-up takes place rather than just a pat on the back and a congratulations and you're on your way, but so that they can make sure that the people's lives are truly invested in. Between the 2 batches that we were at camp for, we saw about 2,000 kids attend camp, maybe closer to 2,200, and if I recall correctly, somewhere between 12 and 1,500 accept Christ. It was pretty awesome to behold. They very much like to have their pictures taken with Americans, so we stopped for a quick photo. Homemade water slide. The bottom looks a little bumpy. I gave a couple of them my camera, so down it went. I think they had a good time with that. After that, we got to help serve lunch. That is a bucket of rice. There was probably 2 or 3 more just that size, and that's just for one meal. Afternoon session, they played some games. After that session was over, we went back to the resort and had a little R&R time between groups, because the one group was leaving and the next group wasn't arriving. So we got to go out and do some snorkeling. That was nice. The water was a little murky, but not too bad. It was definitely easier to see with the goggles on when you were there than on the camera, but it's a cool blue starfish. Sunset, little time lapse of sunset that we got to see here. It was really quite nice weather. Day 7, we were up early, went back to serve. Some of the girls were conned into participating in a little on-stage dance. That was the last session before we headed out from camp. This is back at our resort as we were checking out. Just had to send a picture of the beautiful beach because Denver was getting a snowstorm at the time. Always wash your rice. That's rice drying on the side of the road. Cars were driving over it. The rest of the day was just spent driving back. Day 8 was Sunday. Went to church. This is the outside of the church. Here's a picture of me with Pastor Roy. Pastor was late for a church service that day, and I told him that the reason why he was late is because he had this sticker on his moped. Of course, you know, he didn't know what the Detroit Red Wings were, so I had to explain their hockey team that I don't care for too much. The band, so you can see that's the band area is about 15 by 30, and then the seating area is kind of up half a story, and it's about 15 by 30. I think we counted about 70 people we had packed in there. This is a guy with a Rocky shirt, so we just took a picture with him. Day 9 was our last day there. We did a little shopping, went to our celebration dinner, went to the KKK restaurant. It's not what you would think in the States there. It's a symbol of national pride, KKK. I'm not sure exactly what it stands for, but it's basically for the national revolution against the Spanish when the Spanish reigned in the Philippines. These are the local missionaries that were there. Luke and Kelly Lyons, the main missionaries that we support. Even though the organization is huge, they're the family that our church directly supports, in addition to the local Filipino pastor, Pastor Roy. That concludes the missions portion of the trip. I have a friend, Dale, that lives in the Philippines. I was fortunate enough to be able to fly down to see him. Saw Peyton Manning in the airport. Got to walk on the concourse. Haven't done that since the old Ontario airport days. With Dale, we took a drive and went through the property that is owned by the Del Monte company, where they grow just an absolutely insane amount of pineapples. It's such a big facility. They actually have on-location housing for all the staff. They even have this giant sports field at their own church. We had to drive through there to get to this adventure park where we did some zip lining. There I am, zip lining down. There goes Dale, and here's a little video of it.
Watching my hair turn gray, I'ma never stop running till I'm in my grave. We on a mission, so let's roll. We got a vision, and we go global. Epidemic so glow, activate hard change and they so flow.
Camera took a little wreck off the tripod thing that I had it on, but it survived, so I picked it up real quick. Got a shot of Dale coming in. And then after that, we went to the long zip line. That was the short zip line. This is the long one. It's it was pretty fun. As you can see, there were portions of it where we were certainly quite high off the ground, but it was very mountainous terrain, so the elevation shifted as we went down the line. But as you saw from the sign in the beginning, if you caught it, it's 840 meters long, the zip line.
We got homies across every nation, epic army ready for activation. Global epidemic so glow, activate hard change in the soul flow. We wanna see them through like a free throw, so we tell them the truth and there's more. We go to the ends of the earth, and you know we go to the end of the world. Ain't no place too dirty, no, ain't no place too dangerous, doesn't the dangerous. We go to
Picture of Dale and I coming in for our landing. After that, we took a short ATV excursion. That was pretty nice. It was starting to get like really misty and foggy, and actually started raining a little bit. It was really neat. Not a lot of video of this, just because it's very bumpy driving on a dirt road on an ATV, so hard to stabilize the camera. So I'll try not to make you sick with that. Just picture me and Dale. Some really cool, pretty purple flowers. A tree, you know, on a hill in the distance in the mist. You can kind of see the clouds and the mist. A little selfie on the way back home. A picture of the bay near where Dale lives, down on the island of Mindanao. We went to this place for lunch, Deer Manook. It was like the first place that we went for lunch after church when we first arrived, with the chicken and the chili, so I really liked it. This is just a cool shot on my way back from Cagayan de Oro to Manila to return home. This is actually a cloud cover while we're in the plane, but it kind of looks like snow, like you're flying over Antarctica or something. I just thought it looked really neat. Believe it or not, underneath this big cloud here, kind of to the right of center, is our feeding center from the air. We were flying over, and I thought, hey, I think that's about the layout of where our feeding center was. So I snapped a couple pictures, came home, pulled it up on Google Maps, and yep, that's definitely where it is. So that was kind of neat. I took Dale to this place for our final meal together. It's called 8 Cuts Burger Blend. It's definitely the best hamburger I had in the Philippines, and I think that's mostly because they use U.S. imported beef. So it tasted quite good. And that's the end of my trip. I want to thank everyone for sponsoring me and the rest of the team. It was a wonderful opportunity to go and serve God and to reach people for Christ. Thank you again.